Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Blizzard ANZ Twitch channel for round number 2 of game number 2 of the ANZ HGC Premier Division here on the second week, Tuesday night. Thank you so much for being here. We are proudly supported by McDonald's, and if you have just joined us and you missed the first couple games, do yourself a favor, go check out the VODs, of course, after the broadcast is finished, but right now, strap yourselves in, crack a cold one with the boys, and get ready for Crimson versus Twisted Vision game number 2. We just had Infernal Shrines where Crimson just proved too good in a very, very seesaw style of gameplay. We're about to go over to Tomb of the Spider Queen. My name is Kit Fox, joined once again by GL Phoenix, and my friend, you and I are just cracking a cheeky grin because this is our favorite map.
Oh yeah, Tomb of the Spider Queen is where a lot of the fun times can happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing how these teams go at it on this map. I mean, we had a very good game number 1 between these two, and it was a very back and forth. But in the end, Crimson were able to take a lot of those later game team fights and then secure the advantages and then the win. On a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen, you get a lot of those similar styles that you can see from in Infernal Shrines. I just lose train of thought. But you also see a lot more of the wave clear and the mages that on Tomb of the Spider Queen. And mages is something that I believe you're a little bit of a fan of.
Love it. Mage mains. I know we've got a few of them out there in the chat. I know Hacky plays a fantastic Chromie. Or does Chromie play a fantastic Hacky? I mean, who knows? Who knows? But we did see Gul'dan actually banned out in the first game at GLP, which just goes to show you that the mages, even though they might not be the most resolute in terms of stamina and fortitude, they definitely have a role to play on maps like the Infernal Shrine. And this is another one where we do see them come out because that wave clear really needs to be prioritized. You are literally killing minions to collect gems. Should you be defending, you then have to kill not only the web weavers, you then have to kill their spawns as well. And again, that is where the mages shine. I want to see some action. I'll stop talking about it now until we actually see somebody take the field. We did see Jaina in the first map between Mind Freak and Xylophone Dudes. But GLP, let's get this one underway. First ban is going to go over to Twisted Vision. They're going to take away Maiev, which is interesting considering Xyliance is a very, very good Maiev.
They still just don't want any of that. But one thing I do want to bring up is that we saw the Johanna being picked up on the side of Crimson, and this is a map where she gets a lot more value because of her wave clear. She brings that extra thing as a tank, which is really valuable on a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen. We talk about mages and their ability to clear waves. Johanna does that just as well from the tank role. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of extra priority placed on her, whether or not it's going to be a first pick for the side of TV or if it's going to be a higher priority pick for the side of Crimson. I would like to see one of these teams pick her up.
Yes, with the Samura off the board, will we see Xyliance play it again? Play it. I mean, that's the question. I mean, again, targeted bans taken away. It looks like it's going to be Genji yet again. Yeah. Didn't really pay off last time, considering... Yeah. Look, he tried his best, but the support that was coming in on the back line was just way too strong on the side of Crimson.
Yeah, and it was very hard for the rest of the team to really follow up with him. He was going very deep, but it also required the Blaze to dive in with him, and all of a sudden that means that not only do you have a Genji all of a sudden out of position and without help, you've got another person there. Sure, you have the bunker, but when everyone starts walking to a bunker, they have to come out eventually, and they were into the waiting arms of a Shadow Twilight Dream, and it didn't really work out for them. I have to see how changes to the draft may affect that, but the Johanna and the Malfurion yet again for the side of Crimson, very solid for this draft.
Yeah, very. In fact, it's almost picturesque as to the first game that we had. We've got Johanna, we've got Melf, we've got the two same bands, and we've got the Genji. So literally nothing different as yet, GLP. But like you said, Tomb of the Spider Queen is where things can get a little bit spicy, where we can sort of go a little bit off meta, unless you're Xylophone Dudes, and then every game's off meta. But this one is going to be interesting because Genji not necessarily the best at farming the gems. We'll have to see what the rest of Twisted Vision's lineup is going to look like. Remember, they still do have that second ban, and Crimson aren't giving much away. Crimson are a team that don't really go off meta that much, just because their hero pool is so deep on the in-meta heroes. They can just basically play anything that's in vogue at the moment.
Yeah, the closest we've seen to off meta from them was the Kel'Thuzad last week from Hacky, and to be fair, that didn't really work out. But I'm not sure if we'll see that one again. But that is an incredibly solid front line coming out for TV. The Garrosh and the Blaze is incredibly powerful. They so annoying to deal with. We saw the Blaze for how many months at this point? He's just so damn good. He brings everything that you need.
Inception. Yeah, since he's basically been released, he's been extremely strong into the meta, and he's bullied others out. I mean, we don't see the Diablo much anymore. We don't really see Leoric much anymore. I mean, we do sometimes, but only when Sukov doesn't make his appearance, because Entomb Lurking Arm isn't a fun time necessarily. Can work against you, as we saw last week. But this respect ban Zamuro, it just catches me every single time. I mean, how good do you need to be at a Cheese Champion to be banned in a Premier Division twice in a row?
Well, apparently Zion's is on that level.
He's
hit that point.
He's in Decade now being banned as the second hero, so that's interesting. But they do still need the heals, so targeting the supports, I don't mind that. Don't mind that on the side of Crimson at all. I mean, they still do need to lock that in. Uther is another one that comes to mind. Surprisingly, they let him fall through last game when you've got Genji.
They went for the Stukov in the previous game, and that is still available. It feels as though Crimson are wanting TV to pick up the Stukov yet again, because they feel as though they can somewhat deal with it. Yeah, it's very powerful, and that lurking arm can be really annoying to deal with. But they can still deal with it. The Tracer and the Sonya. So again, going with the Sonya for that solo laner will do rather well against that Blaze. But the Tracer this time, wanting to shred apart a backline.
What backline at the moment?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, it doesn't really matter what kind of backline. They're just like, we'll just be able to deal with whatever they can throw at us.
I mean, Tracer trying to outmaneuver Genji here. So the two Overwatch heroes are definitely going to be the ones to watch here. Having said that, I like Genji's engage a lot more than I like Tracer's. But there's not really a target for Tracer at the moment. I mean, locking in the Tracer is extremely ballsy, considering you can't really shred a Garrosh, you can't really shred a Blaze. You can be annoying.
You can poke him down. You can be a real nuisance and slowly wear him down over time. And the thing about a Tracer into a Garrosh is that you need the Garrosh to be literally in melee to have any kind of chance against the Tracer, because she can just dip and dodge around the majority of his abilities, so they can ignore a lot of it. But if the Tracer does go a little bit too close to the Garrosh, it can get locked down. That is the Jaina and the Karazim. I like that coming out from the side of TV. So they have a nice burst damage with the Jaina, and also the Karazim will have that little bit of extra mobility and those heals. We'll have to see what kind of heroic he does go for to deal with what Crimson are going to be throwing at them.
Solo heal Karazim. How does that grab your GLP? Where does does that sit comfortably upon your shoulders? Do you think he's got the numbers to do it?
I'm not sure. We'll have to see once we get into game, I guess.
I mean, that's definitely going to be the teller. Now, we do have a mage making her way into the field. It is going to be Jaina. No real surprise there. Not really much on the side of Crimson at the moment, apart from the Sonya, which will probably
do we see it Like, do we see it? It is one of those options that can come in for this composition. It would
enables the Tracer.
Exactly, and also brings a little bit of extra wave clear himself with those side storms. Can do quite well, and it is going to be that. Love it when things just come together like that. But it does fit very well into that lineup. It's just the old school combo of the Taz Tracer plus X support, but also Tracer with Malfurion in their own right is a very good combination. So it's a very powerful trio right there, and the very solid lineup with the Johanna and the Sonya. So even though you've taken a Tracer as your DPS member, you have filled out the rest of your lineup with reasonable amount of wave clear, so you're not really missing out in that regard.
I don't mind it at all. I mean, Psionic Storm is an extremely underrated ability, so I'm excited to see what Tassadar can do. We haven't seen double support, which used to be the meta once upon a time for a very long time in Heroes of the Storm, but alas, no longer. I like where he's at now, and this is perfectly situational here. You can play him as the burst mage, you can enable the Tracer to get in, and that's going to fall to Hacky. So we saw him play a wonderful Junkrat last game. Now he needs to translate it to the High Templar. So let's see if Crimson can make this one a clean sweep and take the game away from Twisted Vision here. They did it on Infernal Shrines. Will they do it on Tomb of the Spider Queen?
Interesting. Just looking at who is going to be picking up who on the side of Twisted Vision's a bit of a difference in who is going to be taking some of those heroes. But we can get into that once we introduce both of these teams. Okay.
Yep, on the blue side, it is going to be Crimson, the number 2 team in ANZ for quite some time now. You've got Azure on Tracer, Hacky on Tassadar, Deceptive on Johanna, Shadow is Malfurion, and Jesmez on the Sonya.
And on the red side, we have Twisted Vision. It's actually going to be Coffee this time on the Genji. We have Gondo on the Garrosh, Magic Gnome on Karazim, Xylan's actually moving across to the Jaina this time, and Domi, again, is on the Blaze.
So again, my eyes, the alarm bells are ringing for me, GLP, in the sense that they've only got Magic Gnome solo healing on the Karazin. He is going to have to put all his eggs into the heals basket. No real surprise that he's picked Iron Fists there, so we see that regardless usually of whatever build the Karazim goes, just because it's so strong and is able to procs for days.
Yep, you can get a lot of work done with that. Just that little bit of extra damage, and you can also pretty much punch the lights out of a Tracer once we get into a late game, which is always nice to have out of a support.
So you can see the value that Psionic Storm is actually bringing here. Coffee now on the Genji, so it's not going to be Xalians this time, like you mentioned. Jesmez, though, still playing the Sonya. And Domi, once again, for Twisted Vision, he is going to be rolling out on the Blaze. Now the rotation goes up into the top lane. Already you can see the gems already being picked up a lot more comfortably by Crimson than they are for Twisted Vision at the moment, and that's because of the way that Deceptive is creating a zone, allowing the rest of his team just to be a nuisance from the back line. You've got Hacky throwing down the Psionic Storms, you've got Shadow, the ever-potent threat. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful because Deceptive now and Gondo are still juking it out. Meanwhile, Azure down to half HP. There's the shield, the enabler. That's what I'm talking about. Hacky, though, needs to be careful because Jaina has gone for the Fingers of Frost talent, so going for the globes as opposed to the Frostbolt, which is interesting. Nevertheless, this is the map for it.
Absolutely, you're always going to be rotating, always going to be getting a lot of those globes, and also it's just one of the more standard builds that we're starting to see out of the Jaina, because you need to be putting out enough spells over the course of these fights, and you need the mana to be able to do that. So getting that extra bit of sustainability in that regard, it's always nice to have as that Jaina, but yeah, she is still going to be very good once we get later and later into this game, and we can see just how useful she is even in this early part of the game with the amount of wave clear she brings.
Azure now goes in and gets thrown away by Gondo.
Yes,
just as quick as he can.
Get out here.
He's having absolutely none of that. Going in with the big don't argue as Azure, and then Gondo just switched on enough to reply. Now he gets down and dirty with Domi in the bottom lane and extremely deep as well. So now the turn phase is coming up, and TV all of a sudden have turned the tide ever so slightly. And I think that's because Domi has just been a presence in multiple lanes at the moment, and Gondo on that Garrosh as well. So the front line is strong here. Speaking of him, he actually forces the phase shift out of Hacky there. So that's on cooldown for quite some time now. Gondo, again, still being a nuisance in that bottom lane. 20 gems have been turned in. Make that 33 now on the side of Twisted Vision. Still only 15 for the side of Crimson. They need to make something happen. They need to protect the turn, because Coffee is lurking on the Genji to interrupt even the slightest even thought of a turn.
Yeah, a lot of the pressure on that bottom side of the map was primarily due to Jesmez heading towards that mercenary camp. So having that big relief of pressure being taken away from the bottom side of the map allowed TV to get a little bit more aggressive on the bottom side, which is essentially what they're trying to do now. They're getting a bit of a lockdown onto Jesmez. He's trying to whirlwind his way out of there. Does manage to get out there in the nick of time.
So Hacky and Gondo still duking it out again, and Hacky not really phased because he does have that phase shift. He's able to get away. He's just going to throw down Psionic Storms for days. Does have the Psi Infusion quest. Just going to have a quick look to see how he's stacked up on that. It's not too bad. He's almost at 500, so he's currently at 369, so expect him to be hitting that one pretty soon. Xylians takes a lot of damage, and that's because Azure is lurking now, gets the shield from Hacky to enable him, and look, a lot of the damage is actually coming out from Tracer here. I was questioning about mobility versus Genji, but at the moment it's definitely paying off for them. Hacky and Azure now will go in for the turn, and Crimson have enough to get the Web Weavers marching down the lane. Yeah,
there's only so much you can block with that, with the reflect of the Genji, and once that's down, all of a sudden Azure is free to just walk into, or blink into his face and just start burning him down. So really nice start for the game for Crimson. They're able to secure themselves the first Web Weavers. We'll have to see how much they can get out of this. This is another map where I'm interested to see how things develop, because we started to see up until the more recent patches, you take down a lot of those outer towers, and then all of a sudden you've got like a full level or two lead in experience, and then you can just keep on just maintaining control. But now that a lot of the experience will be taken away from these towers, how is that going to change things? Are they going to be trying to force their way into getting forts, so they do secure themselves an early lead, or they're just going to play a little bit more cautiously?
Yes, they need to really get a good shove on in the lane if they're going to be effective here at soaking up that EXP, because like you said, with that EXP taken away down from the towers, it's a lot harder now to get that early EXP lead. You really need to start prioritizing the camps and the kills a lot more than just zerging down the outer fortifications. Dobby, meanwhile, in the bottom lane for Twisted Vision has got 17 gems. He's sitting on them, can actually turn in off his own back here. And what TV have done well here is they've defended this Web Weaver phase, not lost any of their keeps, and they now have enough for the turn, potentially 2 turns, should they play this one right now. Gondo goes in, gets the engage onto Azure, forces out the recall, so that's going to be down now, and a Tracer walking over the oil slick is not a very fast Tracer at all. But this bottom turning point looks to be where the action is unfolding, GLP, but a bit anticlimactic in the end.
Yeah, and I feel as though TV wanted to be a little bit more cautious heading into that because of the amount of gems that they're holding onto. They don't want to be put into the situation where they're ahead in the gem counter or what is being held, and then going in for a fight and all of a sudden getting caught out, potentially losing some of those gems, and then all of a sudden you're back to square one. So being cautious of their gem counter, just playing a little bit more cautiously. I do like that coming out of TV. They don't necessarily need to force anything at this point. They can just play it a little bit more safely. Once we get to level 10, that's when some of these heroes are really going to kick into overdrive, and they can really start locking down this Crimson line.
Well, if they keep this up, they'll be hitting level 10 at roughly the same time. You can see Azure just combining with Shadow and Deceptive in the mid lane just to be very, very annoying. Try to interrupt that turn, but alas, it's not going to be enough as the rest of Twisted Vision managed to get their own Web Weaver phase marching down. The EXP could go anybody's here. Now, the Root is actually on top of Garrosh. Gondo needs to be careful. Deceptive actually walks into him, but he won't really mind that because he's Johanna. He's able to condemn, trying to catch out Azalians. Will actually blow the Iron Skin early on as well. So, Tommy, they need to get him down. 23 gems about to hit the deck. Walks on the roots. Walks into the condemn. He just goes down. He thought he was going to get away for a second there, but Azure too strong. The gems will actually be picked up by Xylians. So those gems not falling out and just dissipating into the wind. They are still in the pockets of the Twisted Vision lads. But this is where level 10 has been hit. Crimson can really force an engage here, but they don't want to do that. They're just focusing at the moment on clearing out the Web Weavers. That will allow TV to hit 10 and come into the next fight on an even ground.
Yeah, essentially what that kill just brought Crimson was a little bit of extra space to deal with this Web Weaver phase. It's looking like TV wants to make a play on the bottom side. They're waiting for Jesmez to turn up, or anyone to turn up, but Crimson, very aware of that play. They do just catching them out with that sidestorm. But yeah, that Web Weaver phase got a little bit nullified because of that kill. Domi overextending a little bit. And but they didn't end up giving up a lot of their gems, so they still have enough for another turn in. But it did stump that push for just a little bit.
It did. Xylians now with 37 gems, making himself visible in the bot lane, at the bottom point rather. But this is going to allow Crimson to try and get the pick, but the heals from Magic Gnome, I questioned them at the start of this, but they're actually coming out pretty strong here from the man on Karazim. And like you said, with 67 gems in the pocket, TV can go for back-to-back turns here. Xylians is going to get those 37 gems in, so that is big play there. Domi, the Sentinel, the Gatekeeper, not letting anybody go up to that top egg turn point. 30 gems now, still in the pockets of Twisted Vision.
Yeah, both sides have enough for a full for another turn in, but this is essentially the dance of the Spider Queen. You try and maneuver your opponents into a position where you can successfully get a turn in. But it looks like TV are actually starting to get a bit of control over this top side. And it looks like they're so close to getting one, but on the bottom side, Azure, it wasn't enough even with that turn in from the Genji.
Oh, Coffee actually did get those in. I thought he was just...
He did. It just wasn't enough. It was just a little bit below.
Just pipped at the post there, but yeah, unfortunately for him, it will actually be going over to Crimson now. Jesmez in a very bad position here, or a good position, depending on how you were looking at that. Twisted Vision had absolutely no idea that he was around, but Crimson now, they get themselves into the second Web Weaver, or their second Web Weaver phase of the game. They'll be looking to soak a few gems to boot. If they can take down Gondo, that'll be 11 removed from the board. not bad at all. Jesmez and Domi will be duking it out in the bottom lane, so we'll keep one eye on that one. Meanwhile, it looks as though the middle web weaver being taken down already. Magic Gnome able to get over that wall with the Spirit, so able to traverse this map relatively easily with is this Karazim. But these web weavers doing the work.
Yeah, and I really like this defensive play coming out of aggressive defense of their web weaver from Crimson, just forcing TV to go the long way around. So he gives that web weaver more than enough time to push down that top fort. And this is going to start exploding that experience lead. We see them already level 13 and only just about to hit 12 on the side of TV. So they have to be a little bit careful. They're down to talent here to see how they play out these next few minutes.
They're skirmishing well.
Yeah, they do have enough gems for a turn-in, but Crimson, they will not want to let them have that opportunity.
Ooh, Johanna forced out into a very early Iron Skin there, so that'll be down for quite some time, but regardless, that will allow Twisted Vision the time that they need to secure their own Bruiser camp. That will get pushing down the lane relatively shortly. And they do the exact same thing to Crimson. Jesmez is just soloing these camps up at the moment, and that's what a good Sonya does. Crimson going to turn in as many gems as they can. They know that TV have enough for the turn in, and before that engage sort of happens, they want to make sure that they're not bleeding out gems or bleeding as little out as possible. Jesmez, one of the only few at the moment currently holding on to gems, Azure being the other one. Everybody else has completely emptied their pockets. They open up their wallets and butterflies fly out. But level 14 to 12, about to hit this level 13 talent tier RTV. There we go, GL Phoenix. This is where they can really turn up the heat.
Yeah, they want to try and find an avenue into anywhere on the map. Essentially, they're either a fight that goes their way, but they have to be careful taking some of these fights because, as we're saying, if they do go down, that's a lot of gems down the drain. They want to hold on to some of these, try and secure themselves a turn in. But Crimson are playing very good gatekeepers.
They are, it must be said. Now, Deceptive gets himself flipped into the Iron Skin now. Blessed Shield actually collects 3 hit. Good night, Xylians. That is the made from move. Positioning was just way off there. In goes Genji, copy with the X-Lash. How about the recall there from Azure to juke out that play? And this is where the wheels fall off the bandwagon. 2 quick frags on the side copy. The cheek of this. It was. Now, Azure just recognizing that and getting a few cheeky hits out of his own. This will be another turn here for Crimson. They're actually going to start the boss before the turn. Very, very smart play.
Yeah, but this does give TV the knowledge that this is going to be happening, but they really can't do anything about it at this point. Everyone's too scattered around the map. Deceptive is dropping low, though, so potential for Coffee to make some kind of players. That is not good for Deceptive. They have to be very careful. They have to just bail on this.
They've thrown it. Deceptive going so low has actually thrown that now. In goes Gondo. Deceptive blows the condemn, but he's going to get taken out. What are you doing, Crimson?
Ooh, that's a big mistake coming out of Deceptive, getting hit up by that, as they do get a good engagement from Domi, but they're pushing behind. Where is a great Twilight Dream.
Bunker, though, even better, getting 3 members in on the side of...
big play! Oh, there's a bunker.
Yep, it's the be-all and end-all of the climactic situations, isn't it? But now with the pulse bomb onto Gondo, will he go to secure the kill? No, turns his attention back to Domi, who is forced to just dash away. Azure is not done yet. He is hunting. He is hungry. He wants the kill onto Domi. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to secure that one. Gondo gets away as well. Azure, unfortunately for him, the 2 lowest targets of that fight were the tanks. One of them being Garrosh, who gets more armor the less HP he has, so it was always going to be a little bit of a mish for him to get that one. He's able to get away from this Wrecking Ball Groundbreaker combo at will, as long as he has 1 charge of Blink Up. Level 16 to 14 now.
Yeah, they're in a pretty good position. It would have been nice if they were able to secure that boss before, but now that Deceptive is back and at full HP this time, doesn't get locked down by that first shot of the boss. They're looking to be able to grab this one. Coffee is in the area to scat it out, but they're really not in position to do anything about that. They're just going to try and get a turn in with Gondo getting those gems in on the bottom side.
Yeah, but this turn isn't really going to be for much because you've got that boss doing the work.
Yeah.
It is, because Crimson have got the pressure on the top lane. The boss will do all the dirty work for them. They just need to mop up the other 2 lanes. And then they need to wait for TV to actually engage here. Coffee with 40 gems does not want to be dropping those. So maybe we just might see him play a little bit more passively on the Genji as opposed to trying to get those cheeky kills.
Yeah, that's not something you want to be doing when you're playing the Genji. You want to be the one going into the face of your opponents. We were saying it in the previous game. He does draw a lot of the attention, but that's not what you want to be doing when you're holding onto that many gems at this point.
No, level 17 to 15 now in terms of levels on the scoreboard. Just under 15 minutes being played into this game. We have seen the Divine Palm at level 10 being picked up by Karazim. I don't think we've seen it actually come out into the fights yet, GLP.
It's really hard to actually utilize the palm when you have something like a Garage and a Blaze, because they stick around and their health bars can drop and they can go back up, and all of a sudden they're actually not going to die because of a bunker. It's very easy to mistime that. It feels though it's going to be something that they'll need to be using for a lot of the squishy members who can go down incredibly quickly.
I like the cleansing touch talent that's been picked up by Karazim as well. That's going to just nullify a lot of the CC that's coming out on the side of Crimson, and they do have a lot of CC. I mean, you've got the Johanna, you've got the Malfurion, you've got the Spear from the Sonya as well, who can just be an absolute nuisance. So it's a smart pickup there. Now, 43 gems on Coffee. That is the target that they want to take down here. If they can get those gems, they'll still have quite a few in the bank. But look, that's chunky. I mean, you've got a massive target on your back carrying around that many gems. It's like walking around with a big sack and a $sign on it.
Yeah, it's very easy to look at that. He's like, I think I know who I want to kill.
Yeah.
And Coffee, he's trying to get those gems, and he does not want to be holding on to that stack of cash.
Deceptive with the shield glare will interrupt it for now. Is unable to get there, but in comes Hacky with the Psionic Storm. Let's have a look at how he's going with his talent. He is at full 1,000 stacks of Psi Infusion now. Azure needs to be careful, going extremely low in terms of blink charges here now. Coffee, though, just manages to get away. Coffee! The Blessed Shield from Deceptive is enough to secure the kill. 43 gems now have hit the floor, being picked up very, very quickly there by Domi. But with one man down, it's not good for Twisted Vision. Level 18 to 16 on the scoreboard. Crimson do not have enough for the turn-in, but they've got the one-man advantage. And at this time, GLP, at level 16, your death timers are starting to look pretty scary.
Yeah, and to be honest, even though it was a death and they gave up just a kill for nothing, that could have been much worse. Because Domi was able to pick up all of those gems, the Genji died literally right next to his team. They were able to secure a lot of those onto a target that is going to be much more safe with those. So now that Coffee is not going to have to worry about having to pretty much babysit all these gems that he's holding onto, he can be a little bit more free in his movement. He can play those aggressive styles and try and get into the face of Crimson, which is what we need to be seeing him do.
Yeah, if you're going to die on your side of the court. That's what I say now. Gondo actually manages to blow Deceptive back again. There it is. The Condemn is actually going to collect Coffee into the punish as well, but there's not really much follow-up. Blessed Hammer doing a little bit of work there for Johanna. Gondo needs to be careful because he has very low HP. Deceptive is in there. In goes the Roots. The big Blessed Shield coming out there. Will the Condemn be enough? The Bunker goes in, holding their abilities. Iron Skins pop. There it is. The Condemn collects 4. Big play. Silence gets taken down. Jizmez gets removed. He's hunting for Magic Node.
Oh, boy.
1, 2, 3, 4. Look at TV. 4. Coffee manages to get away with his life. Or does he? Hacky is lurking. And this just might be the win condition. There's 30 seconds left on the death timers here for Twisted Vision. They're going to try and Zerg rush this keep down in the bottom lane as fast as they can. I don't think they'll have the time to get to work on the call, but they're going to try.
20 seconds left on pretty much all the members of the defensive side. It's Coffee versus the world, and there's only so much he can do. He takes a lot of damage. As I was saying earlier, there's only so much that the Reflect can do, and that is pretty much just going to be it. Crimson just take an incredibly decisive fight, and then just shove it into the base of TV, securing the 2-0 for them.
Yeah, they knew exactly how many seconds they had to play with, and they executed it perfectly. So Crimson have taken the series against Twisted Vision 2-0, and GL Phoenix, what a series. I mean, that was fantastic to watch, and I love having front row seats to games like that where people just pop off left, right, and center. Azure on that Tracer, as well as Hacky on that Tassadar. This is the map for it, where you see things like that, and that is why we love Tomb of the Spider Queen.
It's a lot of fun, but I also have to give a lot of credit over to Deceptive, coming in as a sub, as their tank sub, and he put on an incredible performance, not only in that second game, but also the first game as well. His presence on that front line as a Johanna was doing so much work for the Crimson lineup, and it allowed the DPS of Crimson to be so much more free. You could see Azure on that Tracer, and before on the Phoenix, he was stepping right into the face of the TV lineup because he knew that he was given the space because Deceptive was allowing him to. And you could see just how free they're able to be in those fights, and it really paid off huge for them.
You can see the power of the Psionic Storm coming out from Hacky as well, especially on Tomb, where you're just able to just destroy those range minions, get your gems, and then get the turn in as quick as you collect them. So well done. An honorable mention to Twisted Vision. I mean, the way that Domi played that was superb. And Magic Gnome, I had my doubts about the Karazim solo heal, came out and played it to perfection. Cleansing Touch at 16, superb as well. So well done there to Twisted Vision. But GLP, those are the games for the night. We saw Mind Freak taking the victory in game number 1 over the Xylophone Dudes with a 2-0 sweep. And even though they had no Penta, they had no problems because Mad Hacks was just so good in filling those shoes.
Yeah, he did incredibly well. And also with Fat94, moving over to that tank role, just slot into it just perfectly as well. He has played alongside some of the best tanks in the region, and now he's just picking up from where they left off.
And as you just saw on screen, it was Crimson defeating Twisted Vision in a much more closer game. And honourable mentions to the TV lads. They played that very, very well. Just a couple things to work on. Crimson just outclassing them on game day. 9-1 was the overall kill score, but all it took was one team fight in that game, and it was all she wrote. But GLP, that's it from us. That was 2 games done and dusted. Week number 2, game day number 1 is over. But if you liked that, ladies and gentlemen, well, you're going to love that on Thursday night we have the exact same thing. At 7:30, we've got more action coming at you from the ANZ HGC Premier Division, proudly supported by McDonald's. So make sure that you get yourself into this channel and get involved, because that one is going to absolutely pop off. And if you are around, remember that there is the pre-game show, The Lobby, at 7 o'clock, hosted by Blank. So if you want all the recaps on the previous week's action, as well as caster predictions and whatnot, make sure you tune into that. It is a fantastic show. But that is it, GLP. Any last words for the viewers?
I'm just really excited to see how a lot of these teams end up progressing through this split. We've had an exciting start to it, and looking forward to an exciting beginning and end. And maybe we'll have a bit of a usurping of the throne this split.
Well, maybe one. Well, I don't want to say one can only hope, but look, it's always good when the guard changes a little bit. So like I said, 7:30 again on Thursday night for the Premier Division. If you're not up to that standard, you can play into the Open Division, which will be on Wednesday nights. Sign-ups are still open for that one, so get your team together and get yourself involved. But on behalf of my co-caster, GL Phoenix, and all the admin team here at GameStar, I am, of course, talking about Winters, about Evexium, about Blank, Crisis, the producer, pushing the buttons as well. Without all these people, we couldn't make this possible. And of course, you guys, the viewers, we do it for the love, and hopefully you loved it as much as we do. So without further ado, this is Kit Fox signing off for the ANZ HGC Premier Division, supported by McDonald's. We'll see you here on Thursday at 7:30 and tomorrow on the GameStar channel for the Open Division. Catch you then.